Since the turn of the millennium, few directors have produced a filmography as strong as Bong Joon-ho. Memories of Murder, The Host, Mother, and Snowpiercer are all excellent movies. And then in 2019, the South Korean director released what will almost certainly go down as his crown jewel, Parasite, the only movie ever to win Best Foreign Film and Best Picture. Because of Parasite's tremendous success, there was a lot of hype for Bong Joon-ho's next entry, and it took 6 years, which is the longest gap in his filmography since releasing Barking Dogs Never Bite in the year 2000. As more details about Mickey 17 emerged, my personal excitement only grew. Robert Pattinson is great, I love sci fi, the premise is very intriguing, it has many similarities with Moon, awesome movie, but still, everything was set up very nicely. Unfortunately, Mickey 17 was a big disappointment. I don't often make videos about movies I don't like because there's enough of that on YouTube today, but I think there's some lessons to be taken away from the movie's deficiencies and why it's such a step down from Parasite. Before I get into my main issue with Mickey 17, it's worth mentioning that it falls short in ways many other films do. For starters, it never really gets off the runway. The first half an hour is mostly exposition and backstory, which we have to go through to get back to the very first scene. Naturally, in sci fi, some world building is needed, but the execution hurt the pacing for me. Also, I'm rarely a fan of voiceovers, especially stream of consciousness voiceovers, and Mickey 17 did nothing to change my mind on that.
Is my meat gone bad after all that reprinting?
The humor fell mostly flat, it felt very recycled, like the don't shoot him on my carpet gag. You knew that was coming the second Mark Ruffalo pulled out a gun. And finally, the story is all over the place thematically. It's sort of like as a kid when you went to see a movie and you filled your soda cup with a mix of every flavor and you told people it was great when it really wasn't. That is Mickey 17. There's some Diet Parasite, Fanta Host, Dr. Mother, but the final product is unsatisfying. It never develops its own flavor. I was hoping we'd get greater focus on the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde dynamic of Mickey 17 and 18. Robert Pattinson seemed to be having a lot of fun with it, but the failed assassination puts a wrench in the development there, and then we get the conventional defeat the bad guy, save the world plot. Now, even great directors can swing and miss. It's not a big deal, especially when the project is as ambitious as Mickey 17. There are even some redeeming elements, but not enough for me to ever consider rewatching it. The part of the movie that fails badly, incredibly badly, is the effort to include some not so subtle comparisons to modern politics. And I want to preface this by saying, if you're an artist and you want to critique a living world leader, or anybody really, go for it. It's not my cup of tea. I think stories that place greater focus on universal themes are more interesting and better respected in the long run, but I understand the motive of people who want to sound the alarm, if you will. The movie can still be entertaining if it's done effectively. But it is not done effectively in Mickey 17 for a number of reasons. To state the obvious, Kenneth Marshall is Donald Trump. Early in the film, we see his cartoonishly stupid supporters wearing red hats, and it was at that point I thought to myself, wow, they're really going to do a full-blown Trump parody. That's a bold move. And then we see more of Ruffalo's performance, which, as many people have said, is like a bad SNL impersonation of Trump. Nasha screams at him for being an idiot and blames his election loss on that fact. They weren't exactly hiding the ball here. But to my surprise, Bong Joon-ho told journalists that Marshall is not based on Trump, and that viewers are projecting Trump onto him. Frankly, that's sort of insulting the intelligence of the audience. I mean, Mark Ruffalo has essentially admitted that the performance was Trump satire.
And I play a petty dictator.
And again, if that's what they were going for, whatever. There's no reason to play games about it. And I'm not sure why he is. Even people who are more than happy to bash Trump aren't buying it. Maybe he's embarrassed about it in hindsight. Who knows? Bong Joon-ho is not afraid to critique modern society and politics. And although I definitely see the world differently than him, I've always been impressed by how his stories communicate his ideas. For example, there's an amazing scene in Parasite which happens after the main characters lose their home in a flood. A wealthy woman is being driven home by one of these characters, he's her chauffeur, and this is what he overhears from the driver's seat.
오늘 하늘 완전 파랗고 미세먼지 제로잖아. 어제 비 왕창 온 덕분에. 그치?
That is genius writing. The obvious point being, when you spend your entire life rich, you can end up in a bubble. You can become oblivious to the hardships of other people because you're so high up, you're blind to what's below. I'm not as interested in class warfare as Bong Joon-ho, but that scene hit me. It's simple, just a couple of lines and a facial expression, and that's why it works as well as it does. What we see in Mickey 17 is far different. Part of that is due to the tone, it's more comedic than dramatic. With that said, there is no subtlety or nuance to the delivery of the message or the nature of Mark Ruffalo's character. You can argue it's total satire, but the director said he wanted to approach Kenneth Marshall with a degree of sympathy. But it's not there on screen. He is a completely irredeemable character. His wife may be even more irredeemable, but that doesn't change much. Another problem is that he's so stupid and without charisma that it's hard to believe that this man could inspire a quasi-religious cult of personality. You can love Trump or hate Trump, but he is charismatic and entertaining. He wouldn't be in the White House if he wasn't. But I suspect that Ruffalo has too much contempt for Trump to put any humanity in the performance. The intention seemed to be, this man is so dumb and pathetic that you would need to be brain dead to support him. If you despise Trump as much as Mark Ruffalo, you might be happy with that approach. I've seen a lot of critics and viewers who are. But I don't think it's an effective way to change people's minds about him if that is the goal. And for the story, I couldn't see him as a real threat given his complete idiocy. The loan shark is a better antagonist, and he's only on screen for like 30 seconds. Putting all the other problems with the movie aside, if Mark Ruffalo delivered a more nuanced performance, if he abandoned the SNL stuff and made Marshall a charismatic figure who even Mickey is inspired by at first, but discovers as a villain behind closed doors, I think the movie works a lot better. Not only from an entertainment point of view, but it'd be more in line with the intention Bong Joon-ho describes to interviewers. He wanted Marshall to be a charismatic, likable leader who's actually authoritarian and dangerous. Sort of like Forrest Whitaker's portrayal of Idi Amin in The Last King of Scotland. But because of the uneven tone in Ruffalo's bizarre performance, Mickey 17 doesn't lay a scratch on the man it wants to scrutinize. And it's ironic because there's plenty of subject matter there, to quote the man himself. I'm still looking forward to the next project Bong Joon-ho takes on. He remains one of the best working directors despite the weaknesses of Mickey 17. I'm hoping he returns to the tone of Parasite and Mother. I think when the balance favors drama, it works better for him, but we shall see. If you have your own thoughts on the movie, feel free to leave them in the comments. And if you want more videos like this in the future, make sure to like and subscribe on your way out. Have a fantastic rest of your day. I will talk to you soon.